Why most Americans can't afford to retire at 65 anymore. The real numbers. It's a Tuesday afternoon, and Karen is sitting in a conference room she has sat in 1,000 times. Same table, same bad lighting, same parking garage view through the window. Except this time, she is on the wrong side of the table. The HR rep uses words like restructuring and transition package. They have a folder with her name on a printed label. Karen is 57. She writes down two things on her legal pad: the date her severance ends and the date she turns 65. The gap between those two numbers is 96 months. She drives home, makes coffee she doesn't drink, opens her 401k app for the first time in months, and stares at a number that looked fine last year and now looks like a mistake. Here's what Karen has: $310,000 in her 401k, $180,000 in home equity, a car payment, a credit card she has been meaning to pay off since 2021, and a belief she never questioned, that 65 is the finish line, that if she just made it there, the math would work itself out. I need to tell you something about that belief. In 2026, it is a financial plan built on a foundation that no longer exists. My name is Nick. Today, we are running the numbers on what retiring at 65 actually requires, what most Americans actually have, why the gap is larger than it has ever been, and what to do about it. Let's start with the benchmark. Financial planners, retirement calculators, every glossy HR brochure will point you to the same number. To retire comfortably at 65, you need somewhere between $1.5 and $2 million. That comes from the 4% rule. Withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year one, adjust for inflation each year after, and your money has a strong historical chance of lasting 30 years. If you need $80,000 a year to live, divide by 4% and you get $2 million. That is the finish line. Here is what the median American aged 55 to 64, the people closest to that finish line right now, actually has saved: $185,000. Not $1,850,000, $185,000. The gap between where most Americans are and where the math says they need to be is $1,815,000. That is not a rounding error. That is not a personal failure. That is the result of four things that happened simultaneously over the last 40 years that made retiring at 65 harder than it has ever been, and most people only know about one of them. The first is the death of the pension. In 1980, roughly 60% of private sector workers had a defined benefit pension. Work 30 years, collect a monthly check for life. The investment risk sat with the employer. You just had to show up. Today, fewer than 15% of private sector workers have one. What replaced it was the 401k. And here is what most people don't know. The 401k was never designed to be the primary retirement vehicle for the American workforce. It was created in 1978 as a tax shelter for executives, a supplemental savings tool for people who already had plenty of money. Then corporations realized it was a way to transfer the entire burden of retirement savings from their balance sheets onto your kitchen table. They made that switch quietly over 2 decades while everyone was busy living their lives. The 401k requires you to decide how much to save, choose your own investments, and not panic sell when the market drops 40% for 40 straight years without interruption. The pension required none of that. You just had to show up. We replaced a system built around ordinary human behavior with one built around a financially perfect human being, and then expressed surprise when the results were ordinary. The second thing is healthcare, and this one breaks most retirement plans before they even start. Medicare begins at 65, but Medicare does not cover dental, vision, hearing aids, or long-term care, and the costs it does cover still require significant out-of-pocket payments. Fidelity estimates the average 65-year-old couple will spend $315,000 on healthcare costs in retirement after Medicare. That number sits entirely outside food, housing, and everything else retirement costs, and long-term care is separate. A private nursing facility room in 2026 runs about $108,000 a year. About 70% of people who reach 65 will need some form of long-term care. The average stay is 2.5 years. Medicare covers almost none of it. Here is the calculation nobody does, but everyone should. Take the number on your retirement account screen. Subtract $315,000 to $500,000 for health care. What is left is the money you can actually build a lifestyle on. Most retirement calculators skip this step entirely. The third thing is that people are living much longer, and the retirement math was never updated to reflect it. When Social Security was created in 1935, the full retirement age was 65, and the average life expectancy was 61. The program was never expected to pay most people for long. Today, the average American who reaches 65 lives to about 84 for men and 87 for women. The healthiest retirees are regularly hitting 90 and beyond. Your savings do not need to last 15 years anymore. They need to last 25 to 30, which means more money required, more exposure to market volatility along the way, and a much narrower margin for error if something goes wrong early in retirement. The fourth thing is Social Security. And I want to be precise, because this gets distorted in both directions. Social Security is not going bankrupt. The trustees' own report projects that the trust fund will be depleted in 2033, not abolished, depleted. Incoming payroll taxes would then cover about 79% of scheduled benefits, meaning an automatic 19 to 21% benefit cut unless Congress acts. The oldest Gen Xer reaches full retirement age in 2032, 1 year before the projected depletion. They collect their full benefit for approximately 12 months before the cut arrives. The average Social Security benefit in 2026 is $1,907 a month. A 20% cut brings that to $1,526. That is $381 less every single month. Over a 20-year retirement that is $91,440 in missing income, most retirement plans have no answer for. And here is the part nobody says clearly. Social Security was designed to replace about 40% of your pre-retirement income. Financial planners say you need 70 to 80%, which means Social Security was always the floor, not the ceiling. For about 40% of retired Americans, it has become the ceiling. Back to Karen. $310,000 in savings at 4% gives her roughly $1,033 a month. Add Social Security at full benefit, approximately $1,800 a month. Her total monthly retirement income lands around $2,833 before healthcare premiums, before long-term care, before any of the costs we just talked about. She did everything she was supposed to do. She contributed. She bought the house. She showed up for 30 years. She just did it inside a system that was quietly moving the math underneath her feet without saying a word. Here are the 3 paths forward that actually work for real people, starting from where most real people are. Path 1. Work a little longer. Just 2 more years changes the math dramatically. More contributions, more compounding, fewer years the money needs to last. And delaying Social Security from 67 to 70 increases your monthly benefit by about 24%. On an $1,800 base, that is $432 more every month for the rest of your life. That one decision alone is potentially worth $100,000 over a long retirement. Path 2. Lower the number you actually need. Spending in retirement drops naturally. The mortgage, the commute, the work, wardrobe, the kids, they all reduce your expenses in ways most pre-retirement budgets don't account for. Average retirees spend 15 to 20% less than they did in peak earning years without feeling deprived. Adjusting your income target down by 15% shrinks your required savings number by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Path 3. Increase contributions now. At 57, Karen adds $600 a month to her retirement savings. At 7% return, that gets her roughly $77,000 more by 65. Not a complete solution, but combined with delaying Social Security and trimming her spending target, it becomes a real plan. The compounding window at 57 is narrower than it was at 37. It is not closed. Here is what Karen actually does. She rolls the 401k into an IRA with lower fees. She runs her Social Security estimate for 67 versus 70 side by side. She opens a spreadsheet, a messy one, and writes down what she actually spends. She finds $400 a month she cannot fully explain. She redirects it. She does not fix everything in one morning. She fixes the next decision. The retirement crisis is real. The $1,815,000 gap is real. The pension that disappeared without a real replacement is real. The healthcare costs nobody priced in are real. The Social Security shortfall arriving in 7 years is real. None of it is Karen's fault. None of it is yours. But a system that moved the finish line without telling you is still a system you can navigate once you can actually see it. Most people are running this race with their eyes closed, trusting that 65 will feel like an arrival. It does not feel like an arrival when the money is not there. Go run your real number. The one that includes healthcare, longevity, and the actual projected Social Security benefit with the potential reduction factored in. It will be uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Because the people who looked at the uncomfortable number at 52 are the ones making real decisions at 57, and the people who looked away are the ones wondering how it got to be October already. The finish line moved, but it is still a finish line, and you can still get there. You just need to know where it actually is. I will see you in the next one.